that, Krishna's my son, he needs my protection, and Krishna's agreeing, yes, I need you, mother, I need you, protect me. So she's already in that perfectional stage of pure devotion, but we may have a drop of that pure devotion also in our hearts by the mercy of the Lord and by the mercy of Guru, right? So we can offer that back to Krishna. And there's a very nice quote here that I found in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, nice purport actually, which I'd like to read to you. Verse and purport, we'll read this very nice thing here. Because it's glorifying bhakti. This verse here is glorifying devotional service. This verse is glorifying expressions of service done as expressions of love, right? To the personality of Godhead. All glories to Sri Krishna, Prema Bhakti. Knowing that the feet of Prema Bhakti secretly comprise all the truths of the Vedas, liberation herself has come to worship her. Indeed, liberation, abandoned by the Vaishnavas, has now given up her dependence on mantras, penance, sacrifice, and renunciation, and is eager to have the shelter of Prema Bhakti. So that's the verse. All glories to Sri Krishna Prema Bhakti. That, we often aspire for liberation, which means that we're looking for our own selfish freedom. But it's saying here that liberation who has been abandoned by the Vaishnavas. That means that the devotees of the Lord, they don't care about their own happiness or freedom. Right? Prabhupada said a few times, Srila Prabhupada said that the jiva is pleasure seeking by nature. Right? Which is true, but he also said in another place the jiva is pleasure giving by nature. Right? Because if one wants to find that pleasure they're seeking, it can only be had not by pleasure seeking but by pleasure giving. Right? If you're always seeking something, you're always going to be seeking. But if you give up seeking and you offer devotional service to the Lord and give pleasure to Him, oh, hang on a minute, I'm also getting pleasure. So if we're always seeking pleasure, we're kind of still seeking something for ourselves, isn't it? But if we say, to hell with that, it's not going to work anyway. Liberation, trying to get pleasure, materialists are seeking happiness. Materialists are seeking happiness through karma, through jnana, through yoga. The devotees given up on liberation. The Vaishnavas have given up liberation for something higher than liberation. What is that? May you be pleased with this, my dear Lord. I have nothing to offer you, but may you be pleased with this mood of devotion. They've given up. It's not going to work. We may enter the process of bhakti looking for happiness, but the transition has to take place within the sadhana, within the process, away from that. From what I want to what you want. What can I give to you? You gave me more than I deserved. I can't repay you, but I want to give you some expression of love. Right? And what I just said will now be confirmed in the purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami now glorifies Bhakti Devi, personified devotional service to Sri Krishna, and begs her favour. Devotional service to Lord Krishna is always rendered with prema, pure love. In fact, in its essence, bhakti is composed of prema. The lesser goal of life aimed at by impersonalists, namely liberation from the cycle of birth and death, offers herself to bhakti as a maidservant. Liberation humbly approaches Bhakti Devi's feet, unable to even look at her face. In other words, liberation follows even the partial practice of devotional service. This is the point. Because it says, prema bhakti, liberation follows prema bhakti, but then he's clarifying, liberation, which means that thing we're seeking, happiness, that follows even the partial practice of devotional service. Even devotional service which is offered by someone as contaminated as perhaps myself, isn't it? When you actually, as Tatashta Shakti, take shelter of that devotional spirit and let go of your seeking, Shanti Shanti follows automatically, doesn't it? We're going to go pull Jagannath on the cart. There can be anxiety, how to do it, get it right. But then you just let go and go, Krishna, I am pulling you. This is an offering to you, right? So even partial practice of devotional service, regardless of a person's motives, right? Because sometimes we always think until we're doing everything purely, we're getting nowhere, isn't it? We always think, unless I'm this, I'm getting nowhere. Oh, Prabhu, I'm getting nowhere. Prabhu, I'm just nothing. But here it says, regardless of a person's motives, even briefly resorting to one of the standard devotional methods, hearing, chanting, and so on, very soon guarantees liberation from material existence, and without some contact with devotional service, no other effort can earn liberation. So it's to the extent that we've contacted devotion in our activities, liberation follows, right? And without some contact with that devotional quality, no other effort can give liberation anyway. Mukti, liberation personified, is eager to surrender to Bhakti Devi because Mukti realizes Bhakti's superiority. Bhakti is the essential teaching of the Vedic literature. Liberation therefore rejects the spiritual practices that persons in the 4 stages of Vedic cultural development try to use to attain her. Traditionally, young celibate students practice japa, the recitation of mantra. Householders perform ritual sacrifices. Retired forest dwellers observe strict penances, and members of the renounced order of life vow never to enter family entanglement. But liberation refuses to submit herself even to those who correctly execute these practices with complete sincerity. Isn't that quite a statement? That even if you're doing these penances, doing these austerities with complete sincerity, liberation won't come anyway. Why? Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta, Mukti Bhukti Siddhikam Sakalaya Shanta. Isn't it? That verse means that the one who's seeking liberation, the one who's seeking sense gratification, or the one who's seeking happiness in some other way than devotion, they'll never be peaceful. So even if you execute your austerities and all of your vows and penances and all of your duties perfectly, you won't get liberation anyway. Just like they say, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is in the Hindu type presentation, the Vedas. You won't get mukti anyway. One time they asked Prabhupada, like those persons who attain mukti in Brahma Jyoti, do they all fall down, Prabhupada? Yes, they all fall down. So it's not mukti anyway. Prabhupada, why do they fall down? He said, because they become lonely. Because it's not natural to be in a loveless reality. Merging into Brahma Jyoti, mukti, freedom from suffering. Here's the negative, here's neutral. But it's not the positive yet. Just becoming neutral isn't just getting rid of the pain. That's not the nature of the soul. So by your power, by your effort, by your austerity, if you do it perfectly, you still won't get liberation anyway. Liberation makes herself easily available, however, to devotees of Krishna, even though they consider her unimportant and show her little respect. The devotees are given up on it. I don't care about my own happiness. I don't care about my own liberation. Unimportant. No respect for liberation. And she's following along going, I'm making myself available now. Yeah, okay, yeah. Vaishnavas not only fully realized devotees, but also those who have merely received Vaishnava initiation, have the rare insight that liberation is not very valuable compared with devotional service. Liberation submits herself to the Vaishnavas as a humble servant, but they simply ignore her. What about me? She's saying, what about me? What about, remember me? Remember liberation? Devotee's like, no, whatever. Not interested anymore. Of course, we might not be on that level, but isn't it inspiring to hear about it? But every now and then, even though we might not be sustainably on that level, we touch that level too, isn't it? I remember Kriyananda Maharaj, one time he gave a class and he said, I'm on the whatever platform. The whatever platform means I'm just had enough. I just want Krishna. The whatever platform. I've given up. And Prabhupada describes that very nicely in the Bhagavatam 1 purport, that the devotee's given up on all hope of material happiness. Just given up on liberation. It's not going to work. Just can't be bothered anymore. I can't even, when you've there was things I did when I was younger, I was really motivated to do them, and you do them and they're kind of successful, kind of not successful, and you come to the point and you go, I'm not going to go around the block again. I'm just not going to do that again. I'm just over it. I don't want to do that anymore. And you leave it behind. Like I used to play the drums in a band. Years. I don't want to play the drums anymore in a band. So it becomes like that with everything in the material world. Okay, there may be some residual attachment, but it's not going to get me to actually follow it. Yeah, the mind hassles me sometimes, but I'm not actually going to go ahead and do it. Can't be bothered. Let's go have kirtan. Right? So it's called the whatever platform. Come to the whatever. You just don't want it anymore. But where's the taste? It's in those moments of devotion by the mercy of the Lord that they come. That's real freedom. That's real freedom. That's real liberation. That the Vaishnavas, they simply ignore liberation. This has been so in the past, it continues to be so in the present, and it will continue to be so in the future. Why then does liberation worship the feet of devotional service? Because she hankers for bhakti's shelter. Rejected by the Vaishnavas and having nowhere else to go, she is anxious for refuge, fearful that she might perish. To those who have made even a casual attempt to surrender to Krishna, liberation readily offers herself. Isn't that amazing? To those who have even made a casual attempt. Just like today we're going to do Rath Yatra, and some people are going to see the cart and they're going to make a casual attempt. They don't even know they're making the casual attempt. But when they look at that and they go, that's beautiful. Oh my God, that's bhakti. Just by that thought. And in that moment, like they say, when you see Jagannath on the cart, isn't it? You're liberated for that moment. Then after you may go on being. But at that moment, free. When there's that appreciation, when there's that feeling of appreciation of bhakti. Because you're not thinking about yourself, that's why. So I think about that in my own bhakti, in my own practice. Like, how often am I just thinking about myself? My mind, where I'm at, am I advanced, am I not, am I fallen, am I not, am I doing well, am I not, how am I going, am I good enough, well, how was my japa, how was my sadhana, how was this, how was that, how am I doing, 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 oh, haven't I got the spotlight on me? Okay, whatever I'm doing, let's make an offering to Krishna, right? Then liberation. Liberation comes when you stop looking for it. Prahlad Maharaj says that in the 7th canto. Those who look for happiness, from that point, their distress begins. Because if you're always chasing something, that's in a position of anxiety. But it's right here. Look, Krishna's right here. It's so simple. It's right here. Our thing is just to accept that it's right here and take shelter of it. That's all. So, even those who have made a casual attempt to surrender to Krishna, liberation readily offers herself. But to those foolish materialists like me, who strive to achieve liberation, she shows no favour. She will not even turn her glance toward them. Thus their chanting, their sacrifices, their austerities, and their renunciation are useless for gaining her. Persons who strive for liberation by these means alone, neglecting devotional service, are most unfortunate, for they have failed to understand the essential truth of the Vedic scriptures. which is that we exist for Krishna's pleasure. Vedaischa saver aham eva vedyo, Vedanta Veda vid eva jaham, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. And what does that mean? By all the Vedas, the real purpose is to become consciously aware of your devotion for me and to let go of your devotion for yourself, just to serve me. Of course, we're also a part of him, so the self-love that they talk about nowadays in this modern world, in like Facebook and all that, that's automatically achieved by remembering Krishna. Because we remember that every living entity, including myself, is a part of him. So we show respect to every living entity, including ourselves, by becoming devotees of Krishna, like that. So, my dear mother, by devotional service, take direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart, which means essentially to take shelter of the spirit of devotion in your activities, which is what I was meaning to say. Thank you very much, devotees. Any comment? Yes.
Thank you for the class. Very thought-provoking. I have two questions.
Yes.
Very different ones. The first one, before when you were talking about the levels of devotion you can feel in different relationships, I had this question a while ago, and now I remembered it. That in the in material realm, people have very intimate relationships with their children, with their spouses, whatever. And I don't understand the psychology of a person that then becomes, a devotee and has the mood of Vaikuntha with the most lovable object, with Krishna, with so much respect and reverence when they have, like, with mundane relationships, they have more intimate relationships. So I don't understand the psychology of a person that is satisfied in that relationship so formal with Krishna.
Those relationships in this world appear intimate, but they're not really intimate, right? Because we take birth in the material world to be the center, because we think we are the center. So there's a very nice point, there's a very nice progression conversation in the 10th canto where Krishna returns to the rasa dance after his absence away, and he returns, and him and the gopis, they discuss what is real love, and they discuss different levels of love. And Krishna says there that, essentially paraphrasing, that parental love in this world is the purest form of love in this world, because it's the most sacrificial, it's the most giving. Love means that you have a natural affection for the object of your love and you exist for their pleasure, right? In this world, there's always something in it for us, right? Even in the parental relationship with the child, right? There's something in it for us. What to speak of romance, which is full of pitfalls because of the intoxicating nature of that relationship. Those romantic relationships, they appear very intimate, but there's so many problems. So many problems, because people generally enter those relationships to get something for them. How often have you heard someone say, I need to get married? Didn't the word get just come into that conversation, that sentence? I need to get married, right? Or they even say, I want to have children. That's like saying, I want a new boat, right? Or I want a new car. I want to have children. Whoever says, I would like to serve a baby human. Is that the reason why you're having children? I want to serve a baby human. Or instead of getting married, I want to serve another person of the opposite sex, perhaps, to facilitate their devotional advancement. Maybe some devotees feel that way, but it's not common. Most people in the world are like going to the nightclub or going on Tinder or something like that, looking for something. Get, right? So we can't be an illusion that just because, they have a beautiful wedding, and then they have a nice family life, and they've got a holiday up in the top of the North Island in the summer in the batch, that suddenly it's become, all that contamination suddenly gone away. And how often have you seen that, like, okay, you know, looks very nice now, but 5 years later you go, oh, did they break up? Is it? Well, because it's not really intimate. At some point there, the business agreement, there's some elements in the agreement that no longer work any longer. You make a deal at one time in history when you were having a good day, or you at least thought that you were on the same page. And then later on, well, you know, things changed, you know. Things changed for me. So people walk away. So where's the intimacy in that? But when one has heart for Krishna, even in Vaikuntha, in that mood of awe and reverence, the consciousness is fixed. Because one is aware that Krishna is everything to them, and everything's a part of him. So in that reality, in that Krishna consciousness, there's true intimacy, because of the nature of the unlimited quality of it. Right? Those persons, to the extent that one is Krishna conscious, one can be trusted. Because to the extent that one sees Krishna in everything, one respects everything. The center is nowhere, the circumference is everywhere. Right? The center is everywhere, the circumference is nowhere, actually. So in a circle, usually I'm at the center of the circle, and everything is at the edge. But for the devotee, everything's at the center and I'm at the edge. So one who's got that mentality, or to the extent one has that mentality, they become very trustworthy or very intimate in nature, right? So that's the difference, is that these relationships appear intimate, but they're not actually that intimate.
So there is intimacy in that relationship in Vaikuntha with Vishnu.
Yeah.
It's just very respectful.
Exactly. Yeah. So that dasya, it's dasya, isn't it, in Vaikuntha? Servitorship. And there's that mood of superiority there that's maintained. So it's very intimate. It's not that those servants are, just like we serve the deities, we feel intimacy, don't we? In the mood of service. For awe and reverence to the deity. We don't go and give the deity a hug. We treat the deity like very much awe and reverence, because we're going through the door of dasya to these higher rasas that may be dormant within our hearts. So it's very intimate. It doesn't, maybe we can't, maybe we think that giving your child a hug or changing their nappy is more intimate, but actually it's more intimate to be in the mood of awe and reverence to Vishnu. Even though it appears more formal. Does that help? Yeah.
And now I can't remember the other question.
It's okay. We can talk about it later. Because the devotees just told me that we need to finish now, because the Rath Yatra is today. But I just want to say thank you very much for your attention and coming along this morning to participate. Thank you very much. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripasindubhyavascha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.